Good morning, everybody. This is Trevor with Carrot, coming at you with Adrian, and we're just getting started on the first market leaders revealed call. I'm going to let people trickle in, make sure the technology is working here and everything. Let me test a couple things here. So if you're watching the recording of this, we always like to test the technology out first because sometimes it doesn't work as you hope it is. So let me ping the team to make sure that they're seeing the test on their end. And if you guys are trickling in here who are watching this live, I know a bunch of the people who joined, who hopped aboard the Market Leaders Revealed program. First of all, we'll talk about it here in a bit. I'm crazy pumped about it. But the people who joined it, a good number of people couldn't show up live today just with their schedules, because the people who joined this program are really cool. It's mostly the excuse me, it's mostly the advanced, the advanced members. A lot of people who are doing deals, and so they're probably out there doing the deals. So if you are watching this on recorded, awesome. You're going to get everything that the people who showed up live got, except when you show up live, you're able to ask the questions, which is really, really cool of these leaders as we go. So if you guys and gals who are popping in here, I see you guys popping in here, if you guys can please, in the little questions panel, there should be a little blue badge kind of thing in the bottom right. Click that and enter in that just to make sure that the question and answer section is open, the live chat section is open. Just pop in there a quick double yes if you can see me and if you can hear me, and do a little technology check if that's working. Sweet. We will get going. Welcome on in, guys and gals. Some more people trickling in here. Like I said, crazy pumped about the group of people that we've got as the market leaders, and we're actually working on locking down a couple others. So that's something that we're seeing if we can't lock down some other amazing market leaders too. Awesome. Caleb, sweet dude. Brian, yep. Yes, all good. Angela, sweet. Cool. Thank you, guys. So we're going to get going. We want to respect your guys' time. Those who didn't show up on time, they can catch us as we pick it up. Like we said, you will have the recordings of this open. We're inside the Market Leaders Revealed course as soon as this live call is done. And then each and every week's recording, okay, will be in there as well. And we're going to be piling resources in there too. So as we're able to kind of pull away, awesome, Eric, welcome in, dude. John, what's up, man? Sweet, cool. And it says John Sellers. That's you got Zach and Matt over there. I'm not sure why it says John Sellers. Matt, Zach, what's up, guys? So as we're able to work with these market leaders, and like I said, we're going to be adding on some new ones. So we've had some conversations. We're like, man, let's like over deliver and add some other people. So if you guys are okay with it, this just may be longer than an 8-week training course. So we'll see what happens. And then you guys will once again get all those resources. So with these market leaders, not only are you going to get access to this call, those of you who are showing up live, we want you to ask a ton of questions, ask the hard questions. I've instructed all the market leaders to make sure that these calls are not talking to the basic beginner investor. It's talking to someone who's advanced. So there might be a couple things in some presentations that address some basic stuff that we've asked them, hey, mention that, but move on to the more advanced stuff as quick as we can. And we'll refer the basic stuff to our training or basic stuff to resources that we put in there. And last thing, kind of homework stuff on this. Last thing is we want to make sure to get as many of those hard actionable resources there available for you guys to apply and implement. So Adrian, if you can actually, once you pop in, say hello to everyone. You're the first market leader, and then we'll pop in the slides here in a bit.
Sweet. So thank you. It's so funny. I do all these, I do the coaching calls every week, but for some reason I'm nervous for this one. I don't know why. Can you see me okay, or do I have to? I see myself in the lower corner, but
yep, I've got you. Can you guys see Adrian too when he's talking? Yes, if we can. Yeah, just go ahead and keep chatting, man. And
okay,
I'll make sure that.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about it, and the reason why I'm excited about it is this gives me the opportunity to really help people really fully leverage the Carrot system. You know what I mean? Because that's really what I've been able to do. Because I don't have that luxury of doing any other marketing, just other than online marketing. And my Carrot system has become the hub of my entire wholesale business, and some deals we picked up for rental and stuff like that. But so I'm super excited to share that, because you get a chance to touch on some of the real estate stuff too as well, not just online lead generation.
Sweet, dude. So here's a couple things to set the context for you guys, and we're just going to dig in. Once again, This is planned on being an 8-week coaching program. We are going to have a couple things. If you're watching this live, we're going to have a couple things. Of course, the holidays are coming up, so we want to make sure to respect your time and also make sure that us and the market leaders don't get killed by our spouses for doing it like on Christmas holiday or something like that. So the week of Christmas, we're not going to have a market leader on here. What we're going to do is I'm actually going to do a call where I'm going to be walking through my annual planning process. So every single year I hone in my own annual planning process. This year I think it's better than ever. And we're just going to break apart everything that we do to plan out a great year. And I'm going to show you some of our new documents, some of the things we do to cast a vision. So you're going to get access to that that Wednesday of Christmas, behind the scenes stuff here at Carrot. And then also there's going to be 1 week somewhere in here. I think it's in the second week in January, I think it is, where we're actually going to be on our Carrot team retreat. So every 6 months, our Carrot team flies into Oregon and we meet in a big house somewhere and we just touch base. We make sure that we're doing great work for y'all. We plan, we strategize, we get together and share. So during that week, we're actually going to be driving that day. Actually, no, we're going to be in retreat that day. So we're going to skip that 1 week. So we'll give you guys a break in January, to which this will push us into February. And like I said, we want this to be a living, breathing training. We want to keep on introducing you to amazing, amazing market leaders as we go and as the market shifts. Go ahead and show the slides, Adrian. We'll start digging in and do some quick homework on here, some housekeeping. And the one thing I'm going to say here, that I'm going to shut up and let Adrian take it, is this right here. So the reason I want to bring Adrian on on the first Market Leaders Reveal call was, of course, first of all, like being transparent and honest. It was a time getting a lot of our market leaders, their schedules wrangled. So we got them all scheduled. We're crazy pumped. They're on the schedule. We're still trying to lock down a couple schedules right now. So as soon as we get those schedules locked down, we'll add them to the Market Leaders Reveal training portal as soon as we get their schedules locked down. But I've had this come up a lot recently with the higher end investors I talked to. Talking with one of the bigger guys in Phoenix just the other day, and a client of ours, and he does a ton of houses, and he's really been crushing it with SEO lately. He came in about 1.5 years ago, hadn't really been doing anything with SEO. He's mainly an offline guy, kicked up about $10,000 to $12,000 a month in pay-per-click ads. We were running part of it. Another firm was running part of it, just testing the two against each other. But his SEO ranking started to climb. Long story short, he came to me and said, man, I'm getting crushed right now in Phoenix on these fronts. And what we're going to be doing is, one of our strategies is we're going to start to expand, as the markets get competitive. And as you start to see your results softening in a market, one of the best ways we found in our data, and also just working with our clients and ourselves, is to expand markets, right? There's several ways that you can get more leads. You can either go deeper in a market, deeper and broader. You can start to go out to your general seller phrases and start to pick up listings and see if you can filter down some of those into buy deals. You can start to really go deeper into that market, or you can go to different markets. And that's one thing Adrian has done really well. I remember 3.5 years ago, when Adrian was one of our first 50 clients, hopping on the phone with him and just walking through those strategies. And he was in West Virginia first, doing deals there and picking up rankings in Google and picking up leads in Carrot. And then he expands over to this other market. And then before I know it, he's working with us and he says, man, I launched another site in this market. And then it's always this process. It's always a process that Adrian's been able to roll out. And we coach our higher end clients in this as well, is how do you go to these other markets? How do you enter in another market that you're not in? With Carrot, with online marketing, and get those leads coming in smoothly. And then how do you then work with people to do deals in those markets where you're not actually in there? So if you're in a position like that, where you're in a market that's getting really, really competitive, and if you feel that you want to expand, and that's what a lot of the big guys at the masterminds, my mastermind down in Sedona, Brad Chandler, that's what he did about 1 year ago. And we coached him through the strategy and how to do that. So we're going to be coaching you guys through the exact same strategy that Adrian uses to expand into different markets using SEO and pay-per-click. How does he do it? How do you structure your website? How do you structure the strategy? In the exact same strategy we've coached big guys like Brad on, and we're coaching other guys on it too. So I'm going to shut up and let Adrian roll. And as you guys have questions, please pop the questions through the questions panel. I will be manning the questions, and then we'll pick up and answer questions as we go. All right? It's all you, man.
Sweet. Thank you again, Trevor. And it's funny you mentioned West Virginia. This picture that you guys are seeing actually was taken in my little home office up in West Virginia when I first got started. So you see that I have a little bit more hair, and yeah, so that's probably one of the original carrots right there that you guys are seeing. So
It is, dude.
And also, I sent this through the. I'll share this real fast. Just kind of my journey. I think I started back with Carrot back in May of 2013, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was going through some photos just the other night, and I found I'm not one of those guys that share checks and all that stuff. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Just I live too busy of a life to stop. And well, lately I've been doing a lot of social media, so I guess I shouldn't say I'm too busy to take pictures and stuff. But yeah, I took a snapshot of my first ever deal that I got off the Investor Carrot website, and it was so interesting to see that my first deal I landed was exactly about a month after joining Carrot. You know, because as Trevor said, I've always had the ability to drive traffic, but up until I discovered Carrot, never really was able to convert as many deals until I made the switch over. I know a lot of you guys have probably had the same stories. You know, you built up traffic, you build this awesome authoritative website, but it's just not performing for you. So that was pretty cool to kind of see that the other day. I was actually pretty proud to show that to the team, because it just shows, you know, where things have come, and you know, how far I've come. And a big part of that has simply because of the Investor Carrot system. And so I'm really proud to be doing this, because I feel like this is one way for me to give back. And so I'm excited about it. So as Trevor said, I'm really big on SEO, and really, I guess you can say I'm really big on Google. I'm one of those marketers who is very, there's been two parts of my game that I really feel strong about. One is inbound marketing, and one is psychology marketing. And Carrot has really, the Carrot system has really catered to that. And I think that's why, as I've stacked on my skill set on top of a system that complements that, to me, that nothing but good things can happen out of it. Now, you know, then of course other parts of the business you need to kind of build out and improve. But anyways, so again, I'm really big on that, and that's what I'm going to be talking about is advanced SEO, and I will cover a little bit some of the some paid traffic towards the end to kind of help stack on top of the SEO, because SEO is still a process, but this presentation is going to really help you kind of get really how to leverage maybe where you're already at, just like Trevor was talking to Martin. His approach, I probably would advise something a little bit different because of where his current site is. And I would love to see him leverage what he's built up, and he'll have the ability to go into markets maybe and probably progress faster. Just kind of like what Brad did. Brad pivoted his business to where he had this great online lead generation that was so focused in on one market. It was like, it was bound to just burst at the seam until he set it loose. Now he's ranking pretty much all across the country. So my ambition.
One thing I want to toss in there too is as we go through this Market Leaders Revealed training course, there's going to be a lot of other people in this that are going to be giving different perspectives on SEO too. They're not different perspectives. It's like, it's really everyone's implementing the same plan, but they're taking these different things to add on little boosters. And I'm looking at Tyler Ford's website right now. He's in Tucson, but also he's branched out into other areas within Texas. And I think it was either you that sent it through or Alex that sent it through on the team. I'm looking at his ranking tracker inside of his Carrot account that shows his Google rankings. And literally I'm looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 number one rankings in Google in his markets. And these are like legit, really, really good rankings. I mean, wholesale properties, Tucson, sell my house fast, you know, those types of stuff. So you guys are going to be able to get some things to bolt on to Adrian's strategy with Tyler's call here in the coming weeks. You're going to be, and he's doing some stuff that I haven't seen people do. So you guys are going to get some cool stuff. You're going to be able to get some things to bolt on with David Brown's call. He's doing some great stuff with Matt and Zach's call, but then some guys on some completely different topics. So as you go into these other markets, Ryan Berry, who's going to be on here, is amazing at direct mail and doing it in a way that's still cracking through the clutter. While a lot of people's direct mail isn't working very well, he's like, yeah, all these people sending out these yellow letters and whatever it is, because I'm crushing them right now because they're doing this and I'm doing that. So, You guys are gonna be able to stack these things on as you go through the Market Leaders Revealed training program, and grab this thing from Ryan, and grab this thing from Adrian, grab this thing from here. And over the course of the weeks, you take one thing from each of them. That should make a massive difference and just make this a crazy, stupid ROI for you. So.
No, I love that, and I'm really glad you brought it up. And if there's questions you guys have to where maybe something on the surface sounds like there's some contradiction, yeah, make sure you reach out to us, because there's so many variables that kind of go into how you kind of mix in certain strategy into your situation based on where you are. But yeah, I mean, definitely you guys make sure that you're implementing. Like I said, to me, it's about stacking. And I know David has some awesome methods that I think he recently shared on one of the current Carrot Casts, and just really the rest of the guys. So definitely you guys, take a little bit from everybody and leverage that to really go in there and challenge guys like Brad Chandler. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So again, my strategy really is what really, as I mentioned, it's really more focused marketing. A big part of that is simply because of my situation. I'm a big part of the Carrot team, so I don't really have that luxury of putting full effort into my wholesale business. So to me, that's probably one of the best, probably a blessing in disguise, because it really helped me scale. Actually, not necessarily scale, but it really helped me to focus on the right task in order for me to make everything work. Because when I first got started, like I said, I was great at producing traffic, getting leads, but I wasn't closing deals because I wasn't following up, right? So, and one of the things I had to do, especially putting in my time, because I love what I do with Carrot, is that I had to really force myself, kind of put my back behind or against a wall, to really where I had to figure this out. And one of the things that I've done to really help me do that is what I reference to is focused marketing. So really focused marketing kind of does a few things. A strategy that's going to really help you take action now. And as you kind of go through this training, and also as you're taking action, you'll be amazed at things that you learn through those steps that you're taking. I don't know. Sometimes some things just don't make sense. Some things you're going to have those aha moments just by taking action. Right. So, and that's how I've been able to grow. You begin to see patterns, you begin to see what works. You just begin to see things from a different perspective because you're taking action and really you're growing. So, but that's why I want to really talk on today's focus marketing. So just a few, I actually forgot to put this into my presentation, and being transparent, I put this in like 10 or 15 minutes before we got started, because Trevor mentioned, hey, let's kind of paint this picture, or build some context. So, so here's your kind of some my current rankings. So they're on their far right, on your far right on your screen. You're looking at the Pittsburgh market. So you see some of them are directly rankings related to Pittsburgh, and then we got some that are all city-specific landing pages that through that. So then on the left side, those are all Ohio websites, or my Ohio website, along with different city pages. So, which again, I'm going to dive into those. So you kind of see where, bearing a lot of fruit based on, by what I'm putting into it. So this is what's worked very, very well for me. Again, it's a process, but it's helped me really to focus on the right task, and gotten great results out of it, as you see in my screen. And the thing with also, when you're just kind of throw this in right away, anytime you're implementing SEO, especially if you're consistent with it, expect your rankings to kind of bounce around all over the place. Like they're in the right for the city Canonsburg. I was ranked #1 last week, but looks like we're at #4, and that's quite normal. So don't ever, as you're kind of going through this process, as you begin to see your rankings jump around, as long as you're not going to Fiverr and buying backlinks and doing some crazy spammy stuff, you're okay. There's no need to panic. That's just one common pattern that we've seen, even in working with our high traffic concierge, our traffic concierge clients. I see it all the time. So actually, to me, it's a good sign. So if Google's kind of bouncing you around all over the place, it's actually a good sign. As long as you're not doing anything crazy, like buying spammy links, you're perfectly fine. So, And progression with Google is not going to always be straightforward. Okay. So and what I mean by that is you're not going to rank from 30, jump to 20, 15, 10, 5. It's not a straight way progression. You're probably going to be, you probably get to number 12, and then you probably get bounced back to 17, maybe back to 23. Then you bounce back. Again, it's very, very, very normal. So just something that I wanted to address while I was showing my ranking. So just a couple more other stats. I think these are the last 30 days. So you see that a good chunk of my leads do come from SEO. And then I'm not sure why. And then the direct, I believe that one is pay-per-click, because we do a lot of pay-per-click as well. So, so then you see a lot of the city pages also gets a lot of activity, as you see there on the left. This one is the Ohio site. So we do actually do a lot of deals in Toledo. It's primarily bird dog deals, which I'm going to cover as well. But you see that our stats reflect that. So actually, one of our current Carrot members who visit the office, I think it was just yesterday. Funny thing is that he lives in Oregon, but he's one of my cash buyers in Toledo. So that's pretty cool to see. This one is in Pittsburgh. We do probably get a lot more traffic there for sure. That market is just a good market too. And that's the other thing too. As you begin to pivot, you got to kind of look at the market condition. Right now, Ohio is a pretty solid seller's market. So there's a little bit less activity, even though I'm ranking very well. There's less activity. But looking at Pittsburgh, you see the traffic is just crazy. This is just, I believe, in the last 30 days. So we do very, very well there. Not as much city-specific pages activity, but we tend to drive a lot of traffic directly to the homepage, even on our PPC. And we've seen that works very well versus sending them to a landing page, or traditionally known as squeeze pages. So that's just some stats. And again, I tend to focus 99% focus on Google. I gravitate to the inbound marketing. And when you look at your perfect customer, right, which in our case is a motivated seller, I kind of like to paint this picture like, where does this person start? Their situation came up, and then I think Trevor said this at one time, and it's so crazy. I do the same thing. Is sometimes I'll sit at my desk and just close my eyes and just visualize this person, sitting at their desk, and they go through this whole process of going on websites. What are they seeing? What's the first thing that catches the eye? And I kind of always walk through that. And I just feel like Google is always going to be consistent as far as being a meeting channel that's going to always produce consistent quality leads. Right. So that's what I kind of decided to put all my effort into. Never got into direct mail, any offline marketing. I just really kind of chose my one thing, which was Google. I started originally with YouTube marketing. I did very, very well with YouTube. We actually teach on that in the 3 lead per day training. And then I kind of made the transition over to SEO. And then in the last year or two, we've really ramped up, and I've really fallen in love with pay-per-click. And my approach is more direct. I'm not one of those guys that build out massive campaigns. Again, I kind of believe in the 80-20 rule. Find the 20 that produces your 80. And to me, that's been Google, whether it's SEO, YouTube, or pay-per-click. And then Facebook, it's primarily retargeting. But also there's times to where I will actually do a little bit of testing and go after cold traffic. And I'll show in this presentation what my approach is when I do decide to go after cold traffic versus retargeting. So, all right. And also, Trevor, anytime you need to stop me and maybe go over something, let me know as well. I don't want to rattle through this presentation. So, and I got to slow down too. For some reason, I'm nervous today. Might be the coffee, I'm not sure. But yeah, so one of the first things I really like to do is really kind of challenge you to set your goals. So as Trevor said, you might be currently in a market that's just saturated, super competitive. Maybe it's a seller's market. So, when it comes to online marketing, we've kind of typically seen that we're less of an option. In those type markets, you probably want to pivot more more from waiting for the sellers to come to you, and you may have to start going to them, and that might come through cold calling, door knocking. You're really unconventional, I guess, if you want to call it guerrilla marketing. Those are the things you may have to pivot to. But also the other option, which is the purpose of this particular call, is why not go into different markets, right? And I think this is a solid option when you've already established a good authoritative website. And when I say authoritative, maybe you put some effort into SEO already. You've got some backlinks. You've gone through the 3 lead per day training, have implemented a lot of the stuff that we teach there. Maybe your website has aged for a year or two. So you've built up some really, really good authority. Why not leverage that? That's what Brad Chandler did. He had, we've done his SEO and his website. Really, I like to say it was juiced, but it was so focused just on one market, and it was crazy because of all the backlinks, all the things that we did for him. When he decided to kind of just open the gates, his website began to rank very, very fast. So that's one thing I would love to see a lot of you guys do, is start leveraging what you've already worked into your website, and start going after new markets. Okay. So, but before you do that, challenge you to kind of set your goal. Like, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to go into virtual wholesaling, or maybe become a virtual bird dog? As I mentioned, there are some markets, particularly in Ohio, that we're just bird dogging. And what I mean by that is that as these leads come in, we're handing them over to cash buyers. We're not putting them under contract, but a lot of these buyers are closing, and we get checks. We get checks in the mail. We probably make around maybe anywhere from $15,000 to $2,000 a month just off of bird dog deals. So actually, one of our guests not long ago, I think I shared this on Facebook, April Crosley, she was a recent guest on Carrot Cast. I got a check in the mail from her 2 weeks ago, or last week. I got another one a couple of days ago from in Missouri, from another client member. Sent him a deal, or a lead, send me a check. This one was for $300. I mean, it was a small assignment fee he made, but still $300. I'll take that any day. So we probably do anywhere from conservatively maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a month just on bird dog deals. And to me, that pays for marketing. That's just extra cash, right? So, bird dog is not as sexy. Of course, there's not much you're making there, but yet, you're still, increasing your revenue. And, that's probably going to be your low hanging fruit. Because again, all you're doing is handing over leads, but you're not dealing with contracts. And I like this approach because this is why you have franchises like We Buy Ugly Houses or We Buy Houses, Home Offer. Those companies has leveraged ignorance for many, many, many years. Years ago, very few people knew how to generate, or really, I guess, build up their own lead generation system. Very few people knew how to do that. Carrot wasn't around back then. So, you kind of really have to invest a lot into building a lead generation system. So that's why a lot of these companies, they're able to really take advantage of that. But now with tools like Carrot, especially all of us as Carrot members, we have the ability, we have this opportunity now to really build our own lead generation system, right? So this is something really, I think, so if you guys are networking, you guys are, again, we're referencing Brad a lot, but I think he's a good example. Like he belongs into some high-end mastermind groups, and he's leveraging his network. He knows a lot of these buyers from all across the country, and that's where he's picking up shop, right? So that's one of the things for me. Why did I choose this market? Why did I choose this market? For me, it was kind of funny. And as Trevor mentioned before, I originally started in West Virginia. And West Virginia, I mean, if I couldn't dominate West Virginia, I probably had no business being a marketer. So to me, that was just kind of like my practice field. And it was a lot of fun. So it was someone actually, not too many people probably know the story. I mean, people probably think, oh, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh because of this, stats, this, that. Actually, it was because of a challenge. Someone made a comment, oh, you're dominating YouTube. You're dominating that market because it's such a small market. So I said, all right, tell me where I should go then. And they chose Pittsburgh for me. So I went in there with pretty much the same thing that I'm going to be teaching you guys. I used the same system to be able to go into Pittsburgh off of a challenge. It wasn't my choice. Off of a challenge because someone said, what you're doing only works because you're in a small market, right? So I was kind of really, really proud of what I was able to do with the carrot system. And now I had this opportunity to prove that as long as you implement, as long as you do the right things, doesn't matter if you're in a small market or in the big metro market, you will get results. So that's how Pittsburgh came about, was actually just through a challenge. Ohio came about because I thought I was going to move there. So I started working on that site, actually, while I was still in West Virginia, because I knew that eventually I was going to move there. So I kind of got a head start on it. So the moral of that story is get started on it now, right? Don't wait 3 months, right? Because I knew by the time that I got to Ohio or Columbus, I wanted the site to be rocking and rolling, right? So for me, if there's a certain market that you guys want to go into, get started on it right away. And this training is going to help you do that. So whether you decide what market you decide to do, I say check with your network. There's a carrot member, his name Luke. He works with a big hedge company, and they're buying in certain markets. Connect with people like him that are doing that, are really looking for deals. I think they're looking in several states. So that's just an example of how you can decide, instead of kind of get into this whole due diligence. Hey, I got to do this market, just market analysis. Again, that's smart. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes over analyzing will kind of stop you from taking that initial action. So for me, start with your network. Talk to investors. Talk to investors who are struggling to do deals, or not to do deals, but who are struggling to generate leads. Okay, those are the areas I think, because now you have someone that you can hand these leads off to, and there's a solid relationship there. And that's what I've done is this particular cash buyer, he lives in Oregon, but he's bought from me because we had that good relationship. So I trusted him. There's times to where I get a check in the mail, and I totally forgot that I sent him a deal or a lead, and he goes, "Oh, hey, yeah, did you get my check?" I said, "Oh," and it's like, it was a nice surprise. Now, I don't recommend doing it that way. Make sure you trust the person. That's what makes it work. But if you're kind of going in brand new, you probably want to have some type of JV agreement or something set up. So, but to me, I would say start with virtual bird dogging to start generating leads for your investor friends. Those are struggling to get leads. So now you're the home investor. Now you're the fastcashoffer.com system, right? So that's where I would start. In reality, virtual selling is just harder. It took me years to really hone in and get what we're doing right now in the Pittsburgh market and even in the Ohio market. That's why in some parts of Ohio, I've decided just virtual wholesale, because it's just as much of a good system you might have in place, as much as you have all the right CRMs, follow-up process, a lot of it is dependent on your boots on the ground. And that's been one of the biggest challenges that I have personally had. Okay, so I'm still growing in that area. So if you're someone on this call that just rock star building teams on the ground virtually, I would love to talk. Maybe we'll team up. But the reality of it is virtual wholesaling is a lot harder. Okay, so that's why I recommend maybe kind of getting your feet wet with doing the bird dogging. Okay, so all right, so my resources are pretty simple. My carrot sites, that's kind of my hub. So typically just my motivated seller site, cash buyer site. Also email marketing service. I like Active Campaign, but you can get away with using MailChimp. There's another one out there that's really good. Constant Contact, and there was one that starts with an A. I forget. It's on the tip of my tongue. Craigslist, primarily for cash buyers. Facebook, both cash buyers and sellers. That's both cold traffic, but primarily retargeting. Well, retargeting, I probably don't want to really too focus on that. But just something to kind of plant a seed. So when Kylie jumps on during his week, you're kind of prepped for that. So then Google AdWords. I love Google AdWords. Like I said, I'm in love with it, and that's been really what's helped us ramp up and help stack on SEO for sure. So and the way now AdWords has definitely have progressed in the last year. I mean, they're just the way that you're able to target, the way that you're able to really set certain perimeters, and just how focused or how dialed in you can be. It's amazing. And it's easier to choose keywords. It's just an easier platform to use than maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, you know? So I know a lot of people say it doesn't work. It's expensive. It can be. But one thing I've learned from Brendan is that who's our in-house PPC expert, I've learned from him to kind of work in and work out, right? Not the other way. So, and that's been very, very effective. So, all right. So let's kind of get started. So just that was just a really quick introduction there. So this one, I don't, now many of you may already have cash buyers, but again, this call was literally for those that want to pivot into other markets. Okay. So more than likely you may not have your cash buyers established, but to me, cash buyers kind of really what makes this whole strategy effective is your cash buyers. This is really what I've called, it's really been my catalyst for all of my marketing when it comes to motivated sellers. Because where marketing can get expensive and things can take a lot longer than it should is when you begin to just kind of blanket, when you kind of just blindly start marketing in an area to where you're just trying to what the shotgun approach. Okay. So the cash buyers this approach has really, this is kind of really the core of it. So, but anyway, so again, cash buyers are very, very important. And that's what's really going to help make this whole thing work. So, all right. So cash buyers, first things first. One thing that I like to do that I don't see many people do, and I encourage you now, of course, we here at Investor Care, we teach, do not reinvent the wheel, right? We tell you don't reinvent the wheel, trust the system. But that doesn't necessarily mean to leave it as is. I really believe that strategically, you should go in there and make some minor tweaks. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, let me just get out of the slide and I'm going to jump into over to my cash buyer site. And so the first thing I like to do is tune up my what I'm referred to as tune up my cash buyer site. And it's mainly going to be the step 2 form. Okay. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let me switch over to that. Let me see how I can do that. Okay, you guys might get a mirror, but okay, cool. All right, so I'll just use this as an example. So what I like to do is, what I mean by that is going to, now you might probably see some of the back end a little bit different than yours because I'm more in the admin feature with Carrot. So some of this looks different. There's nothing wrong with your account. It's just mine appears a little bit different. So, all right. Okay, so I'm going to go into, on the back end, I'm going to go in the dashboard. I'm going to go into content. All right, and I'm going to go into forms. Okay. And let me know that you guys are seeing everything because I kind of made a switch to a different screen. So,
yep, we got you. We can see it.
Okay, cool. So, I like to go into the step 2 form, and this is where I kind of really like to kind of modify just one really little thing. And I just launched this site as an example because actually I'm rebranding my my business over to it was Anez Investments LLC, but we set up a new LLC, and because I live now in North Carolina, to Chief Real Estate Solutions. All right. Okay, so what am I looking for? Okay, so right here. So what I kind of do is there's already an area to where it states what areas will you buy in. So I kind of like what I've done is I'll just copy and paste that just so I'm not having to redo it. All right, there we go. And I'll just go in here and modify a few things. So, so there's several ways you can do it. I mean, you guys are going to kind of know your market better. So me personally, I tend to go into markets that tend to be heavy on the more of a rental market. Okay, so that's one of the things I would encourage you to do is just I don't like to just kind of be general in how I target cash buyers. I kind of separate. I set up two different campaigns where I target one with one campaign and I target another one with a different campaign, because marketing, you know, one of the rules in marketing I've always followed is people don't like to be addressed as a group, right? When you address people as a group, it's harder to kind of get their attention. But when you address people one-on-one, like specifically, you tend to get their attention. So your step 2 form should really kind of cater around who your ideal cash buyer might be in a particular market. So I tend to be more in a markets that are strong and are rentals. So what I like to do is just make sure that when a cash buyer comes in here, not only do I not want them, not only do I want them to provide me with their specific areas, but I really want them to break it down by zip code. Okay, so I'll put something like your what is your, I like to make, I've learned this in being with carriers, trying to make it fun. What is your money codes or something like that, right? Or something to that effect. What is, I'm not really great with my grammar and writing, so or I can see. I guess I should have just used my other established website. I thought the other one was a version 1, so I wanted to use something that most of you are using with the version 2. Okay. So I really want them to provide me with their money zip codes, because that just makes things a lot easier. I've just seen, at least with me, is that sometimes when just with this question alone, they'll kind of be too general, right? So especially if you guys are targeting new areas and you're using one website. Now, I typically do recommend just having one cash buyer website. There's no need to break it down by city. I just tend to make the website more general because a cash buyer lead is different than a seller lead. Okay, so their expectations, their goals, their approach is so different. So no need to save yourself some time from don't build out city pages for cash buyers. Okay, that's typically more specific for motivated seller sites. Okay, because anytime because we kind of do that more for the SEO strategy, but with cash buyers, I never do SEO because you can, for a cash buyer site, because you can generate leads quicker and for free just by using Craigslist and Facebook. Okay, so, and what I do is I do make this a requirement, because I feel like a true cash buyer, because me personally, if I was a cash buyer, I wouldn't want people wasting my time. So the more information that I can give someone so they are sending me the right deals, I'm willing to kind of give that information. Okay, so I personally I make this a requirement, is give me your money zip codes or something to that effect. Like I said, you know your market better. If it's more of a high-end area and cash buyers tend to be more more formal, then be more formal with it. But I just kind of do that. So so give me your money zip codes. Basically you want them to provide you what areas they love based on zip code. Okay, because that information is going to be very, very vital. The other thing that I begin to do is I put a section in here. Oh, the other thing too is, before you start adding on stuff, if there's some stuff in here that you just don't feel like is relevant, don't be afraid to remove some of this stuff. Okay, so but give it careful thought. Like if you just know that you're just not going to send out. Now, if you have the intent of sending out blog posts, like I remember on my rent to own site, I set up that was back when I was using Aweber. That's who I was trying to think of earlier. With Aweber, I set up to where anytime I have a new blog post posted on my website, that post would be emailed to my list, and that was on the rent to own site. So if you have the intent to send them, if you have no intent to send out any type of mailers or blog posts, I will get rid of this, because if they put yes and they have the expectation of hearing from you, they don't hear from you because you never intended. could lose some credibility that way too. So I personally would remove this. And then just this one, I love this one. I know we get questions all the time. Hey, how can we generate leads for private money lenders? It's right here. I set up a campaign to where I set up a trigger to where if someone clicks yes, they get taken into my email list that's just for private money. Okay, so then from there, you'll want to update them with maybe education or just maybe case studies or something like that. So and our support can help you do that. There's a way. Jake is really good with that, and not that I want you guys to bug Jake, but if you need help, he's the one that helped me with that, and he does some pretty cool stuff in there, but very, very easy to set up. Yeah, just go ahead and go in here, get rid of some of these if you need be. If you're not dealing in commercial, like I say, just make it as easy as possible for your cash buyers. Okay. Make it simple. Don't feel like, you're interrogating them. I've heard that a few times, but then the rest are totally fine with it. So my point is, cater to your cash buyers. Now they're at the same time, they're not your best friends. I learned that from Tom Kroll. You got to maximize. The one way to maximize your margins is have no friends when it comes to cash buyers. I think that's another podcast or a carrot cast that was done before. So, but one thing I did add, not on this site, but I'll encourage you if you guys are in a rental market. One of the questions we now ask is, are you refinancing your rental property? Are you, so the idea is we want to ask, how much do you have to be in for this to make it work? Right. So usually the guys that are just buying the properties, like just straight out cash, they're not refinancing. They're not using private money. They're just buying these properties, just cash out. You'd be surprised how many people do that. They're willing to pay a higher ARV, or usually we can send them deals that are about 90%, right? So and then the ones that because you want it, that's how in tune you want to be with your cash buyers. So there are some cash buyers we know that they're using private money, and then they're cashing out by getting they're cashing out with a mortgage. Okay, so those they need to be at 80% of the ARV. Okay, so again, now you begin to know who to send your right deals to. One of the feedbacks I get from a lot of cash buyers is, I hate being sent every deal that comes through every wholesaler's desk. Okay, now is that the case with every cash buyer? No, probably not. I had some really laid back ones that just they want to look at everything, and then some are just very, very particular. So kind of learn that, and then as you do that, begin to implement step 2 to where you're really catering to that. So for us, we kind of pivot to where we've noticed that we're getting a lot of rental guys, buy and hold guys. And surprisingly, I didn't really notice, but a lot of them were refinancing, but they had to be at a certain number. So now we knew when there's certain properties that we can wholesale, that was our potential rental, we knew who to send it to, and that just saved a lot of time too. So a little tip there. So all right, so so make sure that your step 2 form is in tune, because a lot of your information from here is going to really help you, can really tell you about a market. Okay, so I mean, even if you're trying to figure out what market to go into, maybe pick 5 or 6 and start marketing your website on Craigslist in those markets. Kind of see what the feedback is. Kind of go off of that data. So you're creating data, collecting data, and use that data to help you. Maybe this market will be better. Right. So, and as part of your research. Okay. So let me head back over to the slide. All right. This is kind of tricky. You're probably going to see my mug again. Cool. All right. All right. So again, so make sure that you optimize your step 2 form. All right. So marketing, like I mentioned, Craigslist. I don't focus any SEO on cash buyers. It's strictly Craigslist. And if you have Backpage in your market, I know Backpage is not in every market. that's another great resource for you to have. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what section, how this works, or even, hey, I'm getting flagged. I tend to be very conservative. I don't like to kind of just jump in and start posting 3 or 4 or 5 ads a day. I'll just post 2, or maybe I'll post 1, and then maybe wait another day and post another one. And I'll show you what I mean by why I'm posting 2 different ads. But I'm just very conservative. I just don't want, because remember, Craigslist is also a community. I know a lot of times people say, well, maybe my competitors are flagging me. That might be the case, but it could just be someone who wants to protect Craigslist in their market, kind of like the mail cop. Someone who's really gung-ho and they just feel like, hey, this is a spammer, so they're going to mark you. So you got to be careful of that, because again, Craigslist is a community, and Craigslist does depend on their community to report spam. So it's not always competitors. It could be, but just remember, just kind of have that mindset. Like, if you're kind of that Craigslist cop, would this trigger something that might perceive me as being a spammer? So kind of just use your best judgment. But me personally, I'm just very conservative and don't get too crazy with it. So, all right. That's why, again, it's good to kind of diversify. If there's Backpage, utilize that as well. Okay. So, all right. So again, one of my nuggets that I'm going to give you guys is don't be general in your ads. And what I mean by that is I kind of addressed this a few slides back. People in general don't like to be addressed as a group. They want to be addressed individually. Okay. And that's the same approach that I've seen that has made a big difference. Because I know a lot of times we see ads that generally talk to the investor, which is great. That's if that works and that's something you've tested, keep that going. But it might be worth testing, breaking it down and just even being more focused on who you're targeting, which is what I do is be specific by talking the right lingo. So what I mean by that is, as an example here, and I just kind of copy and paste if you guys are familiar with the Carrot Guide, if you guys don't have the Craigslist training, which is really awesome when it comes on a lot of good information on the buyer side. If you don't have that training, get that. Or if you just need some quick ads, what do you call SWAT file? I want to know what that term is. We have some in the Carrot Guide Phase 2. We have it. That's what I use. Right. So even though I do have the training, I just go there and I use this. But when it comes to the title, I'm addressing specifically not the investor, but the type of investor. Because to me, when you speak someone's lingo, you speak their language, like your head will turn. Like Trevor does this to me all the time. Like when I visit Oregon, he says casino, and dude, like I'm looking around, like where, right? Because he's speaking my language, right? So I'm kidding, by the way. Investors, landlords, right? Because landlords tend to be more of a buy and hold. So what's their language? Cash flow. Okay, so I use that in my terminology. Buy and hold, cash flow, right? So you tend to get their attention when you speak their specific language. Same with a rehab guy, fix and flip. Hey, we got your next project. We have some buyers that will buy from us just because they want to keep their guys busy, right? So because I hear that a lot, I begin to use that in some of my. Now, there's some other stuff you can test for sure, but I generally, at the core, I like to address specifically the rehab guy and the cash flow guy. And the way you do that is just simply speaking their language. So one thing too, let me go back to the previous title here. So you kind of see how I don't really talk to, even in the body section of the ad, I don't really talk too much of the rehab stuff. Okay, so it's just real simple. Your website here, enter the cities you do here. So you just kind of fill this in. We both have single family, multifamily properties. My most property less than 100K. You definitely want to address the 100K too, because that's kind of the default you have on your cash buyers. That's what I was going to say earlier too. Make sure you understand. I tend to take out the. Let me show you what I mean by that. Right here. So when you guys launch an investor care website, if you guys decide, hey, I want to do this, This comes as a default. Okay, so make sure that as you're going into a specific market, you know what that number is. Because if I were to put this in West Virginia, dude, like I probably lose credibility because most of a real deal is probably in the low 10,000, like 10,000 or 15,000. Okay, and if I don't change this, then this is like high end stuff, right? So, and most of the cash buyers are not high end guys. So make sure you guys address that. And if you're going to go into multiple markets, I probably best just to kind of make it more general or just remove that number. And you'll have to go into the form too and reach out to support. They can help you do that if you don't know how to get into the form and edit that number as well. All right, so back to the this example. So now in the body of the investor fix and flip ad, now I talk numbers, right? Typically, because they understand the whole ARV 70%, that type of formula, cosmetic, fixer uppers, just again speaking that language of a typical rehabber. Okay, so that's worked very, very well. Okay, so if you're not getting any traction on your cash buyers, when you're just kind of using the general rehabber language, maybe just break it down to the next level, which is talking specifically to each one. And this might actually help you too. This might actually help you understand which type of market that you're going into if you have one respond to the other. And remember, in your carrot system, you can set up a campaign. So maybe set up one campaign that will produce a link for rehabbers, another campaign that will set up a link for your cash flow guys. Okay, so maybe compare it that way. So run a test there. Okay, so or if you want to test some ads, again, same thing. Use your campaign feature in the carrot system. That's what it's there for. All right. Cash buyers, Facebook groups. This is a big one. Facebook groups has really taken off, and I would say I probably have found some of my most recent cash buyers in Facebook groups. And one of the things that makes it work very well is Facebook's search engine. Because remember, Facebook is also a search engine. Okay, so when we hear the word search engine, we tend to just think about Google or Bing, but Facebook is a search engine. Pinterest is a search engine. There's a lot of stuff that you guys can research because technically these are all search engines. Okay, so Facebook, same thing. So one of the things you can do with Facebook is begin to do a search. Just go in the upper left corner and start typing in real estate investing Toledo, right? And then just as what we kind of teach on the SEO side is you begin to Facebook will begin to show you groups. It's amazing. Okay, so that's the easiest and fastest way to find groups. If you want to kind of take the free route. And the ones that tend to be very good is the ones you have to get permission to get into. The closed ones, those are usually gold. Okay. Then also the cool thing is before you actually request, Google will show you the number of people in that group. So if there's some really, really good ones, they should have a high number. So I would start very local and then work out. I mean, I love I really like the wholesaling full houses. I think that's ran by Alex Youngblood. But that great resource there too. So, maybe you might have to start a conversation, but there's a lot of groups that you guys can really network, find out information, and great way to find current cash buyers, and the best way to do that is just observe conversation. Okay. See who's posting, see who's responding. A lot of wholesalers tend to ask these questions that you need to ask, but as you see them asking, see who's responding, and then, find ways to reach out and add group. The only thing I would say is don't spam in these groups. I mean, don't just kind of start throwing your website around. Like me personally, I'll try and add some value. I'll try to jump into some conversation, and you'll be amazed how sometimes, or I would say a lot of time, you'll begin to establish cash buyers without even sharing your website. Okay. So they're just something about providing value and just have conversation, just network. Okay. So, all right. So again, probably your biggest task when you begin to start building your cash buyers out, and this is probably the most important task, is really sorting out your real cash buyers from your non-real cash buyers. I mean, unfortunately, in our industry, there are going to be a lot of wholesalers that say that they're a cash buyer. You know, there's a lot of seminars that come into town that teach this method. Hey, say you're a cash buyer and get on everyone's mail list, all this and that. So you are going to have those. I don't think there's no way to avoid that. You just kind of have to do a good job of sorting them out. Call them out. You might have to spend some time just making some calls and just kind of using your gut to really weed out, okay, who's real, who's not. Because once you really identify who your cash buyers are, now you can kind of really go to work full throttle when it comes to your marketing for sellers, especially when you're going into new markets outside of yours. So again, just to recap, ask, yeah, I can't read my own handwriting. Ask, get the zip codes or neighborhood names. So yeah, make sure you ask to get the specific zip codes. Worse yet, you know, neighborhood names. Don't just settle for what they give you, right? Don't be afraid to ask additional questions. Hey, oh great, that's you know, that neighborhood is awesome, but you know, is that then maybe look it up online real quick, see what zip code it associates with, and then verify with them. Say, oh, I see that's in this zip code. Is there any are you looking at any neighboring zip codes? Okay. So again, don't be afraid to probe them. Okay. So usually that time that you put into it is well worth it. A lot of time and effort, but well worth it, because if you can narrow down your cash buyers to even just a handful, that's all you need. Okay. So, all right. So let's hop over into the meat of it, talking about motivated sellers. But before we do that, did you want me to address anything or just keep going, Trevor?
No, man, I think we touched on the cash buyer side. I think let's definitely dig in and just really talk about the structure as quickly as we can. So we're about an hour in right now. Let's talk about the structure of when you go into a site, or when you go into a market, what do you do? Do you use one site, multiple sites? What do we do with homepage? What do you do with backlinks, location pages, things like that? Yeah, because I think that's the biggest thing. People are going to be going in there and going, okay, do I need to set up a second site for this? What do I do with that homepage? And just kind of show them that replicatable process.
Awesome. There. Okay, and that's perfect. So that's kind of my favorite thing talking about, because again, it really does require strategy to really kind of answer that question, because my answer is always kind of, it depends. So let me go back to my other screen. And so what Trevor's talking about is, I'm going to show you some different websites I have. So there's several options that you have, but I think really you kind of have to, each option is going to have pros and cons. Okay. Like I think Martin was someone that asked this question, was like, Martin, ideally, I would love for him to use his own site, like his current site, and not necessarily set up a new site. Especially if, you know, because again, it depends on if you want to start doing deals like immediately, like you just don't, because here's the thing with starting a brand new website is that you're starting from scratch. Okay. That's your new website. You're probably going to be using a new domain, is not going to have any authority, right? Any type of authority. So you're going back to that, you know, start from scratch. And that whole process. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you feel like, you know what, I'm okay with being 6 months out, a year out, depending on what market you want to go into. Ideally, me personally, I like to dedicate one website to one area, and I'll explain why. So like, here's one in Ohio. So I have this site specifically just for the areas in Ohio. So not only am I targeting Columbus, but I'm also targeting sub-cities of Columbus, and then also other cities of Columbus. Okay. Now, the reason why I put Columbus as my homepage, and this is probably one of the most important factors you guys have to decide, is your homepage is always going to be your most powerful page of your website. Okay. So I believe in leveraging that. You have to leverage that. So when I went to Ohio, I had to decide, out of Toledo, Cincinnati, Columbus, Dayton, Akron, Cleveland, Canton, and Columbus, I had to decide which is most important to me. Okay. So the story behind Columbus, as I shared earlier, was I was going to move to Columbus. So I chose Columbus that was my most important city. So I decided for that to be the focus of my homepage. Okay. So, now if you already have an established website, you know, um, you know, you can technically do it. Okay. But where the problem that I tend to see is when you begin to kind of mix other cities into multiple cities that are in multiple states on one website, which again, I'm also targeting. I have this website here to where I have the homepage that is very generic. It's not city specific, but I have set up to different cities all across the country. Okay. So where this can kind of, the downside to this is it's not localized. And why is that a big deal? Just from the areas that I've been in, both big cities, small cities in between, one of the biggest feedback that we get on why people like to engage with us or why they deal with us, even after they come through our funnel and we're in negotiations, one of the biggest factors that people take into account too is that they're dealing with a local company. Okay, so that's why I like targeting. Like, in Pittsburgh, I'm very targeted. Is it coincidence that this is my best performing website? I don't think it is, because this site is dedicated specifically to this metro area. Even the city pages, okay, are all sub-cities of Pittsburgh. So I'm not targeting any other cities like Philadelphia, or it's all targeted in. And the site converts very, very well, especially on the PPC side of it. Okay, so this is all dedicated to Pittsburgh. And then Ohio, this one is, it's easier to localize for the entire state because I kind of use the Ohio theme, right? Even in my tagline, a phone number that is an Ohio area code. And then also my city pages are all cities right in Ohio, whether it's in Columbus or statewide. It still has that local feel to it. Okay. And people pay attention to that. Even here locally, in North Carolina, I'm working 2 deals right now locally. And I asked them at the end of the call, hey, what was important to you? Oh, that I deal with someone who knows the market, who understands the market. Okay. So people are in tune with that, believe it or not. So, so again, the pros of focusing on one city or one website for one area is that you can focus all your efforts into SEO and localizing it, because I can put this picture of Pittsburgh. I can put the skyline and the logo. I think I even have a picture at the Pittsburgh Zoo. Just whole thing just has that Pittsburgh feel to it. And that's why it converts very well. Okay. So this one's a little bit broader, but still it's Ohio. This one, we haven't really done much with it. Okay. Now the downside to it is that this website is not ranking as great in some of these markets because these are huge markets. Okay. And the problem is because normally these are cities that I probably would make the focus of a homepage, not a city specific landing pages. Because as you're building backlinks into the website, these they kind of receive the leftovers, I guess you could say, not to get technical, but that's why I like using the homepage as to kind of go after my important city. Okay. So, so if you guys, now the ideal, but at the same time, if you guys, like Brian's out of Dallas, he's put a lot of work into SEO on his site. And let's say he wanted to go into Oklahoma. I mean, he can start ranking for Oklahoma quicker by using his current site, because his current site already has good authority, and that could be his leverage. But then on the flip side, the downside to it is that his conversion might have an impact. Okay, so you just kind of have to make that decision on what that is. And one of the best ways to do that is, if you guys are kind of on the fence on what you want to do, is use a Moz bar. That will kind of give you an indication on where you're at. So let me log into my account here and see if I can get a gauge on that. Did that make sense, Trevor?
It did, man. Sorry about that. Had to unmute, had to click it out. No, it did for sure. Just kind of going through like you're saying. And the one thing I want people to make sure that they get with this is, we get this question all the time, and Martin asked me this yesterday. It's like, what do I do with my homepage? So the rule of thumb there, like Adrian said, is if you're going to encapsulate your site into one local market, like he has here where it says Pittsburgh at the top of the website, you know, at the very top of the website, then you want to pick your city within that market area that is going to be your target, like your main target, the one that has the biggest opportunity. That's going to be your homepage. The other ones are local pages. If you're like Martin or like Brad or another company that is going national or multiple states, your homepage should encompass your whole market area at that point. Now, where it's like Brad's is Express Home Buyers Will Buy Your House, then he creates location pages for those main markets, which talk to that market. So yeah,
Right.
it really depends on the strategy for sure.
Right, exactly. So that's just kind of one of the things you guys have to decide, because I mean, you can totally rank well, but for an example, I even tested this with this Pittsburgh site. There's one lonely city page I created, which is York, PA, and this I think I'm ranking this in the top 2 or 3, and this has never been a focus of any type of SEO, but this is receiving the benefits of the SEO of this entire site. Right. So that's kind of the, but the problem is, let's say someone does go to this York, PA site and they're navigating here, they see all this, but then the disconnect is Pittsburgh, right? Like, what do you mean Pittsburgh? I wonder if they, so you begin to plant seed of doubt and confusion. Because for me, to be effective with lead generation, you guys can't make people think. People shouldn't have to think. People shouldn't have to figure it out. And anytime you start creating confusion, there's a disconnect. Okay, so that's the reason why here, that's my North Carolina site. Here, at least with the Ohio one, it doesn't matter where they go. Even if they go into, let's say, Cleveland, the cool thing is that I put thought into my logo now, but it still gives that Ohio feel, right? So at least you're kind of still getting away with it. It's still relevant. It still makes sense. So, yeah, so for like Mart, I think the quick and easy answer would be, hey, go launch a new site. But then that site's just not going to have any authority. You're starting from scratch. You're starting over, but that probably will be probably convert better, So it's just one of those things you just kind of have to give thought. And I'm sure that we'll have opportunity to kind of talk to people one-on-one too. If you guys really kind of need help making that decision, I definitely can help with that. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the decision that you kind of have to make. There's definitely pros and cons to each one. And the reason why too, guys, we encourage you going after metro areas like here in Pittsburgh. That's where your volume is going to be. That's kind of the reality of it too, is that your volume is not going to come through your sub-cities. Okay. Your volume is going to come through the metro area. And that's just how people search. Now the city pages is there kind of help to, 2 things for me. It helps progress the authority of the site, because as the city pages begin to rank faster, that builds authority. And then plus, if someone happens to search specifically by Dormont or Southside, great, I'm right there, right? So, but overall, you always want to try and start, if you're looking for volume, is you definitely want to rank for the metro areas, just basically because of volume. Okay. All right. So let me keep moving along here. So thanks for your input on that, Trevor. Sometimes you articulate things so much better.
No problem, man.
All right, let me go back to my screen.
So as Adrian's going over there, for those of you who are on the call, feel free to shoot through questions. We'll go into questions here in a little bit. But ultimately, like I said, kind of breaking this down for you in quick, simple terms is Adrian's method for going out to different markets. First of all, he usually tackles cash buyers first. And one of those cool methods he mentioned was, okay, we're going to go out there and adjust our cash buyer site so we find out the zip codes that they want to buy in. As soon as you find out those zip codes they want to buy in through a cash buyer site, driving people there from paid marketing, Craigslist, stuff like that, then you can better target your seller site if you don't already have that info. If you already have the info, you know exactly where you want to go. Yep. Cool, dive in there. And then on the seller site, you want to, if you already have a site, which you should have a site if you're on this already, depends on the strategy. Once again, if you've already pigeonholed your brand into one local market and you're already starting to get some SEO going, then and you want to go into a different state, That's kind of a specialized thing we can talk about on Q&A if you guys have that situation. But if you have ohiocashoffer.com and you're like, I want to branch out to Pennsylvania or whatever, you're probably going to want to set up a separate site. So that's something with strategy I'd toss out to everyone is always make sure your strategy with your business is encompasses your dreams with your business, right? So if you ever have a dream with your business to expand and go national, expand and go multi-state or multi-city, you probably shouldn't pigeonhole your website or your domain name into just that unless you're ready to launch multiple sites. So,
right.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So again, I'm continuing testing. That's one of the fun things I love to do is I love to test. I mean, sometimes I'll help, I don't want to get a flood of calls, but sometimes I'll help investors into new markets just because I want to be in that market and test it. So I'm big on testing. So I'm continuing to look at it, and but that's what's worked for me, and that's what I've seen both pros and cons. So, but for me, it's using one website for one area. When I say one area, it's more at the state level. Okay, so all right, so and why? Simply comes down to conversion. You know, yes, there is more work, but it's definitely worth it, especially if you're going to do paid marketing. That's kind of where I'm thinking about the big picture. Not just on the SEO side, but also even on the PPC side of it, you know, whether it's Facebook or Google. Okay. So again, it's easier to localize when you focus on one site on one area, because really also, because you got to create that visual for your seller, you know, that you're local. It's funny in Pittsburgh, I get told all the time, man, it's nice that I have a local option. Right. So now that person probably only went to one website because we were conveniently positioned and they clicked on ours, and they probably didn't go onto other sites because they gravitated to our site because it was visually what they were looking for. It was visually what they were comfortable with. Okay. And we made it easy for them to just stop and shop at one place, you know, kind of an analogy there. So it's really more the visual too that you're able to really put more into as you localize a site. And that's just easier to do as you set up one website for one area. Okay. So again, these are some things to kind of keep in mind to kind of create that visual and that localization, which we cover a lot of. We cover a lot of that in the phase one of the I'm gonna call it Google guide, the Carrot guide. Logo, like I said, don't pigeon yourself down. I'm gonna start using that word because I heard every time I hear Trevor say some one word, it becomes part of my vocabulary. So don't pigeon down your logo to just one specific area. Just like Pittsburgh, if I wanted to go into different markets, I'm using a logo that's going to do that. And it's going to create confusion. So I made that adjustment with Ohio, right? So so now no matter where people go, at least there's that same theme happening, okay? Use a local phone number. It's great for tracking, but some people, they just are visual. So having a local number is great for that. That's why on the national site that I have, it's a toll-free number. Okay, so I'm kind of testing those, testing both, because I like to see both sides. I'm not one of those guys who are just so indoctrinated to this method and then be close to everything. To me, your best answers, your answers typically is going to come through just by testing. So that's why I love Carrot, because they do a lot of that, and we all benefit from that as members. Images, again, give that local feel. Content also big. Here's a big tip. Content. I know one of the things we preach here at Carrot is to localize, to make tweaks to the content, personalize the content. But to me, I want to go a step further than that. I tell people, depending on your market, talk to people according to their level. You know, typically, one of the stats that I really kind of take to heart to is, you know, the reading level in the United States is, they say 5th grade to 7th grade, somewhere in between that. And that's crazy, right? So that tells me as a marketer, I probably don't want to be using fancy words, you know, educated words. Okay. So that's why me personally, and I've been saying that a lot, me personally, one of the things I've done is I try to stay away from words like I stay away from investments or investor. I like to use cash buyer. Okay. They mean the same thing, but one's a softer tone and one's less educated. Okay. And plus, the word investment could be used in so many different facets and different markets. Like more financial companies, more insurance companies are using that word now. So what happens is when people adopt that as a certain definition because it's so heavily used in their market one way, and you use it, they're going to associate you with what they already had in their mind. Okay, so that's why it's very important to use terminology that's very simple, very elementary. Okay, so you know, I'm not saying speak dumb to them. I'm just saying making it very easy to comprehend. So like Pittsburgh's a blue collar city. The properties that we do is usually around 10K, so it's more in, you know, the lower end. So we tend to take on more of the personal approach. Now, if I was dealing in a market, let's say like San Francisco, more of a higher market, I probably would do more of a company approach. Okay, because usually in high medium price points, you're going to have more educated people, right? They're probably going to do more due diligence, and they probably are more trusting to a company than they are to an individual. Okay, so again, that's part of strategy. Make sure you guys don't overlook that. Very, very, very important. So that's why I put content. It depends on your medium price point. You know, like I said, speak to your audience. You know, you're not going to speak Harvard to your 3-year-old. Okay, you're probably going to speak Elmo to your 3-year-old. You know, so again, just a weird analogy, but hopefully that makes sense. All right. Most important, city pages, very, very important. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is great to help build authority of the site. As you build authority, that's when you begin to get promoted by Google. Because at the end of the day, guys, SEO is simply getting Google's trust. That's my non-technical definition for SEO. You're trying to get Google's trust, because their customers is not me or you. Their customer is not Carrot. Their customer is the person doing the search. That's who they're trying to make happy. So if you want Google to put you in front of who their customer is, you got to get their trust. And that's why SEO is a process. It takes time. That's why you don't want to. That's why pay attention to your content. You know, don't just think SEO when it comes to content. Think user experience. Make people happy. Okay, so again, city pages is one way to build up the technical authority, which can help overall your website move up. So, and what that will help you do too is maybe in a year you go into new markets. Then your website will begin to move faster. So you kind of see that ripple effect. The more authority you have, now the more leverage you have to go into new markets, and your website will move a lot quicker. You know, so you're stacking on authority, and that allows you to go into new markets, and your website begins to move a lot quicker. Okay, so focus on city. Oh, here's the other thing too. I see a lot of people creating county pages. Not really too big of a fan of county pages, because typically people tend to search by city or town. But what I've done is set up your city to be focused on city, but sprinkle in your county name. So that now what happens is not only do you begin to rank not just for the city, but also you begin to rank for the county. Again, building authority. Okay, so what I mean by that is we buy houses in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and all of Allegheny County. Okay, so, and I like to put the county name at least in the first 150 characters. Okay, all right. So again, this helps, like I mentioned, this helps build authority fast. We have one of our newest traffic concierge customers. They've been with us for about 4 months, and one of the keywords, he's dominating pretty much the entire page 1 of Google, which is crazy, because we you know, through the SEO and through the aging process, he's building authority. Okay, so it's not because we're coming out with all these different keywords. Again, keywords is important, but at the end of the day, it's about authority. Okay, so authority will help you rank for more keywords. Okay, so again, that's something we teach a lot. So make sure you guys are looking at some coaching calls that we've done on the topic. All right, speaking of SEO, let's break that down, including some pretty cool hacks. So use your homepage. Again, as I mentioned earlier, your homepage carries a lot of power. So make sure you're focused on your most important city or metro area. Okay, so Pittsburgh is one of mine. Columbus is one of mine. And North Carolina, even though there's like Charlotte and these big cities, Raleigh, my most important city is Wilmington. So why did I choose Wilmington, which is only 100K versus Charlotte? Even though, so I'm kind of contradicting myself in a way, but like I said, what's most important to you? The reason why Wilmington is important to me is because it's my backyard. I probably will likely close a deal quicker and faster in my own backyard than Charlotte. Okay. So again, that's why that's why I use the word most important. All right. So don't create your city pages yet. And let me tell you why I mean by that. Homepage content tools needed. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to use these tools, SEM Rush, and I never know how to say this, Ahrefs, Ahrefs or something like that. But Ahrefs is really cool. That's probably now let me say this. You're never going to find a great one particular tool that's going to be best. Each of them is going to have their pros and cons. I like Ahrefs for the backlinks, and then SEM Rush is kind of a balance. It's good. It's okay for everything, right? But if you really want to have something that's more backlink specific, I like Ahrefs. Again, even though they're great, it's still not perfect. So don't put everything on these tools of what's working or what's not working. So again, just kind of, these tools should just kind of be a guide. Okay. These are not gospel. Okay. So just make sure that these are just giving you a glimpse of what that is. So, and the way that I use this for my homepage content, again, you haven't created city pages yet. Maybe you have. We'll address that. So, Trevor, do I have time to kind of go into one of these accounts and show a quick example? Are we okay on time, or?
Yeah, man, I think as many examples we can show, like actual hard concrete stuff in accounts, would be sweet.
Awesome. Okay. So this is one of the cool hacks that I actually taught this on a coaching call. So if you guys are not showing up for the weekly coaching calls, you guys are missing out a lot. I know sometimes it's hard because of scheduling, but a lot of the bits and pieces, we've shared this before, because again, these are all practical stuff that, with SEO and PPC, it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing creative with it. So, all right, so let's do this again. Oops. All right. So, all right. So here's, let me use SEM Rush. This is one of the cool things I like to do. So remember, I'm big on data. Data should really tell you, give you good information that can help you make great decisions. So remember what I said earlier, Google is very protective of their customer, the person doing the search. So for me, you kind of have to re-engineer everything, right? So for me, if page one is so like, it's kind of like, I use the word holy grail, like page one is holy grail. If someone's on page one, they're there for a reason. Okay. Now I wonder, okay, why are they there? Because now obviously they're there because Google trusts them. So why? So that's where these tools can kind of come in. So let me just use a website. So let's say I'm going into the Chicago market. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and come in here and just do a search for Chicago. Don't know how to spell. All right. So I'm just going to do a search for, and I'm going to probably look at Express Home Buyers. We bought ugly houses. I don't really like to use the national chains. I like to use a website that's specifically set up for that market. That's why I'm not going to use Express Home Buyers. Quick House Buyers. Let's see who's that. All right. I don't want to use a carrot site. I want to show you. If you guys have to, that's fine. But that's cool that there's a carrot site there. We need to get them. There's another carrot site, which is pretty cool. We need to help these guys. If you guys are on this call and you're in the Chicago area, these are your sites. Man, reach out to me. I want to help you overtake Brad and We Buy Houses, because I think it's just a matter of just. All right, we'll just use this for an example. So these guys have a really good authority. Okay, not the best looking site, but let's see. Yeah. All right. Anyways, all right. So I'm going to come in here, and these guys have a really good authority, actually. Domain authority of 23. 23 is really good. Usually in our industry, because people kind of jump in and out of this business, Very few websites really ever establish certain status when it comes to domain authority. So 23 is really good. Page authority 34, very good. So I think we hit a good one. So what you're going to do is at least find a few sites on page 1 and use SEMrush, or if you want to use this one too, that's fine. But I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here. I'm going to put their site in here. I'll kind of quickly glance at it. You know, how many backlinks? 23. Okay. They're not doing any paid marketing. So what I'm going to do is go to organics research. All right. Then I'm going to kind of see what keywords that this system, and usually SEMrush will pull data from Google. So you see here that these are the keywords that that Google is associating this website to. Okay. So these are the keywords that are primarily working. So what your job is what you're going to do is just kind of go through here. So it's kind of the same effect as this Google suggests. You can take that route too, but if you're not getting any Google suggests, and I'll show you what I mean by that is this is great data. So basically, so obviously Google trusts this website, and this is the keywords that they're associating this website to be with. That's what you should go after, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to write all these keywords down. Okay, we buy houses. That's a given. I mean, that's pretty much easy. We buy ugly houses. I mean, you'll kind of get creative with that. Sell your house fast. Cash for houses. Great. Okay, I like those. How to buy a house in Chicago. Probably not a good one. So you're just going to go through. We buy foreclosures. So some foreclosures. Okay, because here's the reason why I'm going through this, guys. Google new SEO is not really centered around just keywords anymore. Okay, it's not about trying to guess the right keyword. Now you want to have a solid foundational system to where you are going after certain keywords. Okay, but here's the thing: me and you could never guess what someone is going to put in as a keyword. Okay, it's almost impossible. Right. And most people are probably going to be putting in more a complete sentence like how to sell my house without having to list a realtor in Chicago, you know, some long tell keyword. So me and you could have never guessed that. Okay. So, I mean, like in Pittsburgh, I'm probably ranking for many keywords that you won't find that keyword on my website. Why is that? Back to relevance. Remember, Google's job is to bring back relevant results when someone does a search. They're not trying to find websites that matches keyword, because Google doesn't. Let me say this loosely and take this for it with use good judgment when I say this. I don't know how it's explained, but Google doesn't like SEO. Okay, Google wants you to provide a good user experience. So if the Google kind of identifies, and their system is getting smarter too, guys. If you focus too much just on SEO, Google can tell that. Okay, so you can't. That's why you have to really balance user experience and SEO. Not saying you throw out SEO. I love SEO. I'm not dogging SEO at all. That's my bread and butter. I'm just saying you got to look at things from a user experience. You got to have that mindset now. Okay, so for me, it's about creating a page. Okay, well, let me go back to my website. So it's creating a page where you're not going to just choose one keyword and then put that keyword in like 10 times like you had to maybe 5-10 years ago. Now what you can do is you can begin to rank for multiple keywords for one page. Okay, so and the way you do that is you're still gonna set up your primary focus keyword, which our sites, we've done a good chunk of the on page for you guys. So that's gonna be usually sell my house fast. So that's kind of your foundational keyword. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take some of this information over here that Google has given you through this tool that they like, and you're going to start sprinkling some of these keywords into your content. Okay, because obviously Google likes those keywords. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start sprinkling in those keywords into your website. Now, here's kind of the thing I'm going to caution you: don't just throw in keywords just to get them in there. Make sure they make sense. Okay, years ago, people used to spin up content into like, you can take one piece of content and make like 100 pages from one piece of content through, I think they call it spinners, content spinners or something like that. But that's like Google, that's like enemy number one to Google. So the way they're combating that is that they're actually checking grammar now. Okay. So if your website is not grammatically, I don't even know if that's the word, grammatically correct, um, that could kill your user experience in Google's eyes. Okay. So not say that's going to make or break you, but you got to look out for that. So that, which is cool for us, because years ago we used to have to say we buy houses Cleveland, right? Now we can say we buy houses in Cleveland. It means the same thing. So now you can start sprinkling in keywords that Google identifies as the same thing. They associate it together. Now you, one, create better content, so that provides a better user experience. And now you can start ranking from multiple keywords for the same on one page. So you're not having to create one page for sell my house fast Cleveland, create another one for cash for houses Cleveland. Now you can create this content that's all baked in together. And as you build authority, which again, one way we already showed you is through city pages. Now you begin to rank for multiple keywords, which is cool. Okay, so that helps you work a lot more efficiently, and you begin to, and then now back to what I said earlier, now you become more relevant. So now when someone puts in some crazy keyword, so let me do this, how to sell my property for cash, out listing with a realtor in Pittsburgh. Okay, so I probably don't have that word for word in that precise order on my website. But if I bring it up here, my website's number one. Okay, because Google finds me relevant, right? And you see here, you know, the second is Trilio, right? Because they just have a high authority. So that's kind of my point, guys. It's all about being as relevant as possible, and that's how sprinkling multiple keywords into your one page helps with that. Okay, and that's where a tool like SEMrush and Ahrefs can really help you identify what those keywords, and it's best to use a website or use data from a website that's already ranking on page one, because they've obviously passed the test. Okay, so now that data is available for you to use and start going after those same ones. Okay, so that's the reason why I said in this, back to my presentation. Let me see. Let me put this in here. Trevor, can you see my the presentation now? I kind of took that tab and put into my current ones. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I had it separate, so perfect. All right, so back to my presentation. So that's the reason why I say first create your home page. Now, this is probably ideal if you're starting a website from scratch. Okay, so create your home page, optimize the page. Then that's when you begin to start That's when you begin to start duplicating your home page and start making your city pages, because now you've kind of baked in those keywords that's relevant into that same market based on the research with the sites already ranking there. So if you're targeting other cities, not sub-cities, and then just repeat the previous steps. So if you're like Columbus, I'll probably have to do one search there. And if I go to Cleveland, I'll have to do a whole new search just the way I showed you. But if you're targeting sub-cities of Cleveland, you probably can just duplicate and use the same data that you created for that page and just into the new page. Okay, so that's one of the coolest hacks that I've really, again, just taking data that's already there and just simply leveraging it, and boom, you're done. All right. But again, now, which city pages am I going to create? Again, goes back to use the areas given by your cash buyers. Okay. So if you're creating city pages that are submarkets of your main city, just duplicate homepage and change out 20–40% of content. Okay. And again, as I mentioned, don't just change content for the sake of changing content. Don't change content for the sake of SEO. Change content because it becomes more relevant to someone jumping on that site in that area. Okay, that's the mindset I want you guys to have. The cool thing is if you do that, your content's changed. So you're killing two birds with one stone. Okay, so again, the way you're gonna don't start busting out city pages just to cover more areas. Be intentional, because what happens is as you build out too many city pages. Again, let me say that carefully. There's nothing wrong with having 50 city pages. Okay, but the more city pages that you build, the more your backlinks as you're putting into your website goes. Now it has to distribute to all these city pages. So my rule is don't carry any dead weight. Okay, so again, not that technically the site can't handle city pages. I'm just saying more on You want that juice that comes to your site to fully maximize and leverage what you already have set up. So make it count, I guess is what I'm saying. All right. Again, key points. Make sure something we teach and really push on all the coaching calls. Phase 1 of the Google. Why am I keep saying Google? The carrot guide. Okay. Testimonials, company page. Right. So make sure this is so vital, guys. Especially if you're going to do paid marketing, this is so important. If you're going to pay money into marketing, make sure, because your marketing is going to bring people to your site. Okay. That's bringing traffic. Just because someone comes to your site doesn't automatically mean they're going to engage with you. Doesn't mean you're going to pull them in. That's where the psychology part of the site kicks in, and you want to enhance those key points like the testimonials, company page. Okay. Be transparent. Don't hide. Okay. So, and I'm sure there's gonna be some questions. Well, if you're virtual wholesaling, how can I do company page? But if there's enough questions, I'm sure we'll address that in the Q&A. All right. Get some quick social signals, get a Facebook page, then share on your personal, if you share on your personal page, then you share on your personal page if you dare. And what I mean by that is, I know a lot of people don't like to share stuff like what we do on their personal stuff. I've heard that before. So I would say go out and get a Facebook page done. But here's the key. Reach out to your network to see if they have Facebook pages that they've had for a while. Okay. Usually the Facebook pages that have been around for a lot longer, they tend to kind of carry more weight, so kind of an aging thing too. So, so if you know someone that has had a Facebook page, great. Maybe ask them, maybe exchange, you'll share something on their site, vice versa, whatever. But if you don't have a Facebook page, get one. And you're not going to focus on likes. You're not going to try and focus on building the audience. I just like it just to post articles, post my website, kind of build out that social signals. And the cool thing with the social signals is that, now this is tough to do. The more powerful, if you want to add power to your social signals, is you got to get people to engage on the post, and you got people to liking that post. Okay. Which is not easy to do. I'll admit, but I did this hack for April, one of my buddies, April, one of her groups. I said, do this. I wish I could share, but we're running out of time. So I told her, on your personal page, talk about how you like helping people. Make a challenge to people. Like, hey, I challenge you guys. Share with me how you're making a difference in your community. Okay. And then at the bottom, say, for me personally, I love helping distressed homeowners out of sticky situations or something like that. Right. And then put your website. Right. So you're going to get engagement, because people are going to probably more or less engage with the top question than they are with yours. But here's the thing. The hack is people are going to be commenting, right? So now you're racking up the kind of like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You're racking up your social signals because you're engaging. People are commenting. People are liking it. The bait is that you're asking them how they're making a difference. And at the end, you're just kind of throwing in how you're doing it, and you're posting, and you're using but make sure you're using your URL. So that's one way I've kind of done some social signals and really made it count, because it's hard to kind of, post every now and then. You might as well just post and make the most out of it, especially if you have a big following. Try that. Okay. Then, post your stuff on Pinterest, Twitter. Again, you're not going to be doing this to drive traffic. It's just simply for, these are high authority web properties. It's just a great way to kind of build up quick social signals. Okay. Because you want to show Google that you're active, that you're a real business. Right. But would love to have people try that hack that I said about Facebook, how to, ask someone how they're making a difference, and then say, for me, this is how I am, and then put your website, and you should at least some pretty good engagement. Okay. Other advanced stuff, Facebook, boosted posts again, but you're going to be using only, this is kind of a little bit cold traffic, but cool thing with Facebook, it's not expensive. So one way to keep that spend down and is target by your zip codes. Again, that's one thing I love about paid traffic is you can be really dialed in as much as you can, and maybe just try a few zip codes. Okay. Maybe do some branding videos. Okay. Or just test some different stuff. Again, it's all about testing. And also in your ads, make it clear you're not an agent. Okay. You don't want to have, bad traffic. Remember, we talk similar language to a realtor. Anytime you say, if you're going to ask a random person, hey, I can help you sell your house fast, they're probably going to automatically think you're a realtor. Okay. So I know on Facebook, because it's, people scan information. So to avoid, to make your your ad spend more effective, just be clear on your posting that what you do. Don't put any language that could possibly have people confuse you with a realtor, or else because what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of clicks, and then you're going to wonder, hey, what's happening? Getting a lot of these clicks, but no conversion. And then you're going to say, Adrian, let's get into a strategy call, and I have a conversion issue. But the problem wasn't really with the website. It's just people were confusing you with something else. And when they got to your site, wait a minute, this is one of those house buying companies. This is not what I'm looking for, right? So that's why just makes your spend less costly. You're not getting, you're not mixing traffic into your current stats and all that. So, and then don't use, I'm not a big fan of using for sale sold signs, even though it kind of conveys the message and the point. But remember, mindset. People already have a certain mindset established. And when you if you put in front of them something that is in line with their mindset, that's what they're going to associate you with. And to me, a soul sign is usually associated with a realtor. So they're going to automatically think you're that. Okay. So if they were a motivated seller, that probably could have stopped them from engaging. Or if they were looking for a realtor, they engage in your posts, and then they just didn't convert and you paid for it. Okay. Other advanced stuff, Google AdWords, zip codes only, start with only phrase and exact match. Get a goal of at least try and get 100 to 200 clicks. Trevor has an awesome formula on how to put that together. I asked him yesterday to teach me more. So again, target by zip codes only, which is your cash buyer. And again, make it clear you're not an agent. What you say on the front end really makes a difference, guys, because again, it's all about seller's perception. It's all about their mindset, so you got to have to make it clear in who you are and what service you do, and try and do the best you can without avoiding confusion. Okay. And by you doing this comes back down to what we started at the beginning of this call is this helps you implement focus marketing. Okay. So that's it.
Sweet. Man, sorry about that delay. There's clicking unmute on there. So one thing I want to do to kind of unpack this in the notes, I want you all to take away, okay? Because first of all, Adrian, dude, appreciate the heck out of you diving through that. And there's a lot of different things for people to take away. There's the cash buyer side. There's the side that you structure your strategy going to different markets. There's the SEO side, how you kind of stack on pay-per-click there. So correct me if I'm wrong in kind of bringing this all home and wrapping it in a bow. So there's a couple different ways, y'all, if you're looking to branch out of your market. And like I was saying, if you came on here later, one of the bigger reasons right now, specifically right now in this market, like this isn't just, hey, anytime go out there and branch out. We're talking when a market gets hot, a market gets competitive, especially the really hot markets, Phoenix, Vegas, some other ones like that. Oftentimes, the best move for your business is to spread out. Okay, it's to spread out. It's to spread out and or go deeper on the marketing that's working best for you. And in the Phoenix market, what's working best for a lot of those guys is cold calling, direct cold calling. And then also Martin's crushing with SEO. So as he's going, okay, how do I grow my business in a market that's getting continuously flooded and harder to find deals? Well, what I do is I keep ramping up my SEO in this market. I put on cold calling over here, but then I'm going to go into these other markets and tackle SEO with my site. So just know that now is a unique market time to be able to be looking at branching out into other markets. And then what Adrian mentioned is one great strategy: go out there and get cash buyers first, of course. And you can ask them that question, which zip codes are the ones you're buying in. That'll help you dictate some of the cities you might be focusing on if you're not exactly sure which cities you want to focus on for sellers. And then the core strategy you need to decide, and as a Carrot customer, hop on our weekly coaching calls every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Pacific time, and we can specifically dive into your situation on those calls, or right here in the Q&A section here if you want to in the next couple of minutes. But if you are looking to branch into different markets, there's a couple strategies you need to look at. Number one, what is your brand currently doing? Is your brand pigeonholing you into one local area? Like, is it We Buy Houses Ohio? Okay, you probably need to be just using that website for Ohio. But is it something like Nexus Home Buyers, like Matt and Zach, who that brand can go anywhere? So now they just need to go, okay, my homepage should be inclusive of my overall market area, but my homepage also has the best chance of ranking well for competitive phrases. So like Adrian mentioned, make sure that your homepage is not wasted. I've seen so many people who go into different markets and their homepage is completely wasted, where it just says sell your house fast. There's no localization. There's no primary market on there, nothing. Make sure to use your homepage for your primary city and market. Ideally, it's gonna have the best chance for that ranking, and then create those local pages. And then next, like Adrian mentioned, what he's doing is he's stacking on Google pay-per-click for those markets. He's going through there and he walked you through some tools he used for SEO, some basic backlink building things. The backlinks are going to be important in those markets, especially to those city pages that you're wanting to rank well. And then just patience, because as he mentioned, as you build out those location pages, as you branch in those different areas, those pages are going to help Google look at this website as an authority. All tides are going to rise with it. And then over a period of 6 to 12 months, sometimes sooner, you should start to see that really capture in those markets. We saw the same thing with Express Home Buyers, same thing for a lot of people. It took Brad 6 to 12 months once he started branching off into different markets to see those rankings pop. And now the cool thing is, now that you're able to, once you do that and you start to work on SEO, as you go into different markets, those rankings happen faster. Kind of encapsulated it there. Take some notes, y'all. Does anyone have any questions you want to toss at Adrian or me about this call, about this topic, or about anyone else in the series either? Or I'll throw in last question to you, anyone on here live. What specific strategy or specific problem do you want to have us make sure that we address with these market leaders as we go? Pop those through the channel right now. And I'm going to take those and make sure that as we're going through talking with the market leaders here as we go, that we ask those very, very specific questions. If you're wanting to ask Matt and Zach how they're crushing it in Nashville with this targeted SEO strategy, you need to speak up and ask those questions. If you walk away from any of these calls without your question answered, or without that, man, I got that nugget, I can go pull away, you probably need to step forward and ask those questions, because this is your chance to have live access to these people. So open up for any Q&A that pops through. Let me pop over there. There was a couple things that came through earlier, but I answered them in chat. One thing I will toss at you, Adrian, then we'll wrap this puppy up, is I do definitely want to create some sort of a simpler guide that we can put on in the members area, so someone can have a quick reference. If you're game for it, here over the next week, let's pull away and create a one-pager where, okay. I mean, we're kind of doing that right now, right, with our strategy project that we're going through. What Adrian and I are doing right now is, over the coming month, we're pulling all the knowledge out of our brains and creating a strategy book. Basically, it's like the strategy manual for a real estate investor. And it's going to be, you can dive in and see any situation of an investor, any different, you're experienced or new, you're doing pay-per-click, you're doing Google, here's your overall strategy. You're going to be able to have this guidance, this reference guide, where you're going to be able to flip to a page and see exactly what you should do. But what would that version of this be here, Adrian? Let's create that here the next week, where we can just bullet points. Hey, this is the first thing you need to look for. This is the second thing you need to look for. Do this, then do this, that kind of thing. That work?
Oh, love it. Love it. I mean, that's why, that's why I love Carrot, man. I mean, I know I'm part of the team, but as a customer, I mean, it's amazing the things that we want to do to really help our members. Such a cliche, but like crush it. And that's one thing, guys, that I love being able to see behind the scenes. Like, I'm just in love and just I'm in awe sometimes sitting behind the scenes, seeing what's going on. Like, man, I just wish more people would kind of see what I'm seeing. Cause I'm still a customer. I mean, I'm still a full paying customer, cause I value the system that much. You know what I mean? So
love it. Love it, man. Well, dude, thanks for kicking us off. We'll close the call out now. If there's any questions that come in after the call, we'll pop through and answer them. But I'm crazy excited, like I said, about this Market Leaders Revealed series. We kind of launched it during a really awesome and interesting time where it's the start of a new year. You can start to have, you know, these help to create plans for it. And we want feedback as we go. Okay, we want feedback because our whole aim with this series is for you to get those main questions answered. Where if you're looking to scale, we want you to make sure you get those scale questions answered. If you're looking to go deeper into a market, we want to make sure we get those questions answered. If you're looking for a guide on how to dial in your pay-per-click along through SEO, make sure to give us that feedback so we can get you the exact things you need to scale this up this next year. And the cool thing will be, like I said, we're going to have direct mail stuff in there that's different than most people are doing direct mail. We're going to have several takes on SEO because people are just doing some really, really cool stuff. We're having a couple on the pay-per-click side of things, some on just overall strategy. We've got some surprise ones that we're trying to work out right now as well too that are really, really high level stuff. So if we're able to land those, we'll let you know and add them to the mix. But let us know, get us feedback. If you get even into week 3 of this series and you don't have something that you can implement that'll make you an extra $20,000 to $40,000 this next year, you need to let me know, because either we didn't present it in a way to where you had a clear action plan, or you weren't paying attention. So let us know and we'll get it for you. But have an amazing rest of the week, y'all. This recording will be up in the members area over the next several weeks. We'll be adding those quick action guide resources to those, and we'll be getting emails out every week as we have these. So make sure to check your inbox if you're watching this live, because you will be getting the emails as we have these. We will have a couple weeks, like I said, that we'll be doing something a little bit different. Christmas week, we're doing and planning an epic year call where I'm going to be leading that one, talking about my internal planning systems. I'll show you everything we do to plan multi-million-dollar businesses and what we do for the next year. And then in second week in January, like I mentioned, we'll be having our Carrot Team Retreat. So we're going to give you a break that week, take a week off, and then we're going to hit it after that for another 4 weeks, I think 4 to 5 weeks, bringing on some amazing market leaders. These are guys who are, Brian Rockwell did $611,000 last year in one of the most competitive markets in the country in his very first year. And he's going to walk through exactly how we did that. Matt and Zach are crushing it in the Nashville market, really competitive market, but they've cracked through and they're starting to gain momentum. David Brown, one of the SEO ninjas out there that's taken over New York and does 3 to 5 deals a month, 100% off of SEO, and they're really high margin deals. And you've got Ryan Berry up in the northern side. I think he's in Ohio, and just crushing it with direct mail, amplifying it with his Carrot stuff. Does over 6 figures in profits a year just off of Carrot SEO. But then his main business is on direct mail and doing it in a different way than people are normally doing it. And some other big names, some of the biggest home buyers in the country are going to be coming on here too. So thank you guys for your time. Have an amazing rest of the week. Adrian, any parting words, man?
No, thank you. Go out and get it done, guys. We're here for you. Any questions, in between questions, things I'm sure will come up as you're implementing, reach out to us, leverage, our knowledge, our experience. And it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to the next coming week. So thank you.
Awesome. Having a good day, guys. Talk soon.